Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We're just a few minutes away from start time, so I want to invite everyone to come on in and give us just a few more moments. Attorney Crump will be with us, and we'll be getting off to a great start. I hope you've had a great Sunday so far, and glad that you're here. So give us just a few more minutes, and we'll be ready to start.
Number one.
Well, good evening. I promised that we would be back to get started. Come on, this is the house of the Lord, so why don't you put your hands together and give the Lord a great hand of praise. I'm so excited to, first of all, welcome you into First Baptist Church on behalf of all of the staff and members of FBC. I want to thank them publicly. This has been a long day for them. We start our Sundays at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and so they have not left the building, so we really appreciate them being here on today. Let's give our staff a hand for willing. This was something that came up, and I appreciate them for hanging in there. I was about to introduce Tondra Stevenson so she could come and introduce someone, but she's down there on the floor now. And so y'all give her a hand until she gets back up here on the stage. Y'all just keep on clapping, all right? Give her a long applause. No, take your time. There are a few housekeeping things I did want to go over with you. We're going to ask that at the very end, when the book signing begins to take place, that you have your cameras already queued up, and there's going to be 2 people there who are going to take your camera, your cell phone, and take the picture. So you won't be able to have your friend do it or your cousin do it, but there'll be somebody there to do it. So go ahead and wipe that lens now and make sure it's nice and clean, all right? Do that. And then the books in the lobby that will be signed will not be personalized, so you won't be able to stand there and do more than one picture. He's just going to give a general signature because he has to catch flight and get on out of here. All right, so that we might present our hostess with the mostest, I'm going to ask that you would give Tondra a hand as she comes out. Come on, give her a hand. All right?
Good afternoon, beautiful people. I am Tondra Stevenson. I'm the Connection and Social Action Committee Chairman for the Beta Epsilon Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome. Here to introduce April Thompson. She is a local investigative reporter and news anchor with WREG News Channel 3 since 1992. She graduated from the University of Georgia with a bachelor's degree in journalism, broadcast journalism. She received her master's degree in business finance at the University of Memphis. She has received numerous awards in journalism, which includes 2 Emmy Awards. She's a member of the National Association of Black Journalists and the Beta Epsilon Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Links Incorporated, and the American Christian Fiction Writers. Please help me welcome Miss April Thompson.
Welcome again, April. Have a seat to your place of choice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce today America's Attorney General. Ben Crump is no stranger to Memphis. He is no stranger to these United States of America. He shared with us at the 10:30 service on this morning, and he's not only going to be known as America's Attorney General, he's probably going to be known as the co-pastor of First Baptist Church from here on out. What an outstanding job he did in delivering the message on this morning. We're so thankful that he was here. I am privileged that he is not only an outstanding attorney, a wonderful person, but he's a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, of which the brothers in the audience, y'all stand, brothers. Y'all didn't think I was going to stand up here and not give a shout out to the bros, right? All right. So they're all in the building, and we're glad to be here. Thankful to the AKs for hosting us, and thank you to Ms. Vaughn for being so persistent in making this moment come to pass. And when I say so persistent, I mean 10 o'clock at night persistent, amen. I had to introduce her today to my wife as the woman that I was talking to late night on several nights, and it wasn't anybody from State Farm, amen. And so thank you. Let's give her a hand for visioning this moment and bringing us to this moment. There are several videos there's videos I want to play for you right now, and right after it, you're going to hear from none other than America's Attorney General, the civil rights attorney of our time, Attorney Ben Crump.
Yes, but just in police department, Nathan Douglas, people got shot.
3 Klansmen drove down East 9th Street and emptied 2 shotguns at 4 elderly black women standing on a street corner and a 5th black woman a few blocks away.
The women were walking from the clubs and they're walking here. This is how close they were when they were shot.
Racism and bigotry, far from being on the decline, are actually on the rise.
This was an all-black area. We thought this was our safe haven.
Viola Ellison, Leela Evans, Opal Jackson, and Katherine Johnson were shot. Fannie Crump was injured from flying glass. All survived the attack, but their battle had just begun.
Unlike 1880, blacks in 1980 are not going to give the Klan a free ride.
These women were fortunate that they lived through this. And they could have sat back and, go back into their life and ignore this, but no, they decided to do something about it.
The women who were shot expressed the dismay of many blacks.
It had been 3 black men shot down 3 white women. They would never rush the jailhouse because they would have been hung before they got there.
Even though these 5 black courageous women were denied justice in the criminal courts, they took it upon themselves to say that won't be the end of the story.
My cousin was just murdered by a Minneapolis police officer. His name is George Terry Floyd.
A familiar name is representing the family. Renowned civil rights attorney Ben Crump.
America is a capitalistic society. The one thing that America understands is money. If you can make them pay higher values, they will start killing black people. It would be an impediment. Mama, we out here on John's farm because we fighting for the black farmers. Were you taught how to use the products from Monsanto? No. People seek me out because they want somebody they feel they can trust. It's not just fighting racism and discrimination in these police shooting cases. It's fighting racism and discrimination wherever it rears its ugly head. You gotta try to not just be a spectator on the sideline. Get into the arena and do so. I have been given influence for a reason, and shame on me if I don't use that influence. I know who I am, and I know whose I am. Always argue what is right.
Let's get ready to rumble. Please stand and welcome to Memphis, Tennessee First Baptist Church, now best-selling author Ben Crump.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, April. Good afternoon, AKs. Good afternoon, Memphis.
Yes, welcome back to Memphis.
Thank you. Can I take just a point of personal privilege? First, I want to thank Pastor Norman. Keith Norman is not just a great Omega man, not just a shepherd of this flock, but he is a true man of God. And thank you for fighting for your flock in the church and in the community. Thank you. And letting us be in this cathedral.
There you go.
Thank you to Basilis Pamela and First Vice Basilis Pamela and Felicia and especially Miss Vaughn for making this happen today. I'm so very grateful. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my fellow lawyers and judges that may be present here today. Will you all please stand and be acknowledged because we're all in this together. All you great lawyers and judges. Yeah, Catherine, Judge Hennick, Van, all of you. And then I want to acknowledge just some special people who America was introduced to in such a tragedy. But they were able to represent us with such dignity and grace. I think they were the first family who had a loved one killed by police to be welcomed to the State of the Union address by the President of the United States. And she has continued to represent not only her son, Tyree Nichols, but also this Memphis community in a very special way. I think her and her husband are present with us, Ms. Rovine Wells and Mr. Rodney Wells. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can never say thank you enough, Ms. Rovine. And then I think Representative Justin Pearson is here. Justin, thank you for fighting for us, brother, more than ever. Thank you. And I don't know where Judge Dorsey at, Judge Henry, but y'all tell Judge Ernestine Dorsey I was looking to acknowledge her. Hey, Lisa. I see all my good friends and family who I grew up with. Goes without saying, all great men may not be members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, but all members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated are great men. The greatest fraternity on planet Earth. Yeah, please recognize the Qs. And with that, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. He is no stranger, is he? We all know Ben Crump. He has been back and forth to Memphis. And welcome back.
Thank you.
But I think this may be the first time that you've come in this vein as far as an author.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we are looking forward to talking about his book, and you can get the book, Worse Than Alive, and you can get it signed by him a little bit later. But we're going to talk about, because we've seen him in so many different facets, but how this came about. And I know a lot of people are getting their books today, so you may not have read the book, but I am reading the book. And it is very intriguing, and it sets the stage. And I want to talk about how you decided to write this, and we can get into a little bit about what it's about, because it seems like a case, or some type of case that you would have, represented someone. We have a police officer, a black police officer, who was wrongly put in jail for a crime for shooting other officers. And I won't go into a lot for those who haven't read it, so I won't be a spoiler here. But I wanted to get into that. But first of all, you do so many things.
Yes, ma'am.
You're all over the place.
Yes, ma'am.
We see you on TV. How did you come to want to become an author, and especially a fiction author?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to say thank you all to making my debut novel, Worse Than Alive, a New York Times bestseller. It's helping to tear down the stereotypes, April, that black people don't read and black people don't buy books, where we're showing them thanks to your help. And I know Asia and Kareem are here helping me on this book tour. Everywhere I go, we're talking to black people about where we're at in America today and our struggles and so forth. This book primarily was written to inspire the next generation of civil rights lawyers and social justice warriors. My personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, said that most people would never really know what happens when you're in a courtroom fighting for marginalized people, especially black people. And so he said that's why he would always write his pleadings and his memorandums of law and his legal briefs to be very engaging, to entice people to read them so they could be educated on what were their constitutional rights, what were their what is criminal procedure? What is civil procedure? And so I was thinking to myself, that's what Thurgood did in his day. Man, how can I get people to learn about what really happens in a courtroom? And I thought about it. Man, John Grisham with the Rainmaker and Michael Connolly with the Lincoln Lawyer, they write these legal thrillers every year, and they sell tens of millions of books every year. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a legal thriller, and it's going to be a civil rights legal thriller, and it's going to, because now more than ever, April, y'all in Tennessee, y'all know we got to talk about the importance of civil rights. I mean, with what's going on, Justin, now more than ever, we got to engage our people and empower our people. And then, if I'm just being candid, April, I'm a lawyer, and I became a lawyer because of Thurgood Marshall, my North Star. But if I'm being honest, it was watching with my grandmother episodes of Perry Mason that informed me what lawyers do. And so that's where I started when I was a little boy, and then as I got older, it became Ben Matlock. Y'all remember that? And then by the time I got to law school, it was John Grisham in The Firm and The Rainmaker, and then a little older, it became The Lincoln Lawyer and all of those things. And all of those great legal thrillers, I kept waiting. In fact, I met John Grisham, and he said, you know, I told him I'm a fan of his books, and he said he's a fan of the work I do. And I got ready, April, to ask him, you know, man, when you gonna write about a superhero black trial lawyer? But I stopped myself. Catherine, because I said, what would he know about the experience of being a black lawyer and black culture in the black community? God said, no, Ben Crump, that's your lane. And that's why Worse Than a Lie was written, and we now have introduced to America our superhero black lawyer, our protagonist in this franchise, attorney Bo Lee Cooper.
Bo Cooper. And I saw that. Bo Cooper, BC, Ben Crump, BC. So are you really, is Bo Cooper Ben Crump?
It's a fiction book. There may be some similarities, but no, it's a wonderful thing about writing fiction is you can be intentional about what you're trying to convey to your audience and so forth. And so, obviously, as Kareem knows, this case, in fact, was taken from a real-life case. In all the books, they've given me a 3-book deal, and now with the success of this and the fact that they're about to turn it into a TV series, I know I'm going to get to write a lot more.
A TV series?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thanks to you all. If y'all weren't buying the book, they wouldn't be doing it, and I'm just humbled by it. But it tells you that people want to see us. Representation matters. We don't need a white lawyer coming to save the day and go in the courtroom and show that he resourceful and articulate. No, they got brothers and sisters who can do it just as well, and our children now more than ever need to see us fighting for our people.
Well, the book opens up, and it happens to be the night that President Obama is elected president, as the first black president. Were you intentional in including that? Because that is the backdrop, and it sets the stage for so much, because the encounter that the Hollis has in this book with the white officers, and the white officers on the heels of President Obama being elected may have some kind of concerns that may have precipitated some of what they did. So how important was that?
No, it was very important, and I know there are some law students here. Are the law students here? Will y'all please stand and be recognized? Okay, a couple of law students. Yes, ma'am. I see y'all back there. And this is about following your heart. and sticking to your guns. It was very intentional. One of the main characters in the book is Hollis Montrose, a black Chicago police officer. And on the consequential night that President Obama was elected as the first black president of the United States of America, he is shot 10 times by 4 white police officers. And even though he is saying, you all got the wrong person, and with everything going on, Ms. Robin, you know, George Floyd, they said that he was dependent on drugs. Trayvon Martin had trace amounts of marijuana in his system. They said Breonna Taylor, when she was 18 years old, dated a guy who they said was a drug dealer. I mean, they will find a way to assassinate the character of the individual after they assassinate their body. And so I was very intentional, April, in making Hollis Montrose be above reproach. I mean, you couldn't find a better citizen. And so on that night of November 4th, 2008, even though he was saying that, yeah, I got the wrong person, I'm a police officer, I'm licensed to carry a gun, it didn't matter because they didn't see him. They only saw what they projected on him, which is often the case. And in the book, the officer says what we hear so often, Van Turner, said, shut up and comply. We don't care if that boy is in the White House. We're still in control. And so it was all very intentional. I was doing it on that night. And, you know, my publishing company, Random House, the largest publishing company in the world, they said, you know, you got a good legal thriller, Ben. We think this is a distraction. You don't need it. But April, anybody who worked with me know I'm very intentional on what I do. And when I decide to do something for the reasons I believe in, I'm going to do it. And I was very honest. I said, no, this is my book. Now, if you all don't like it, then I understand that. I will go find somebody to publish a book, but I know exactly where I'm trying to take the audience. I wanted to create an allegory in the mind of the readers that if you use symbolic characters and you use symbolic events and symbolic settings like the first black president being elected, would that create abstract ideas in the reader's mind that if we elected our first black president, would we then be living in a post-racial society? Now, I know none of us believe that, but remember in 2008, that's what a lot of people were saying. Once President Obama was elected, they said, we're post-racial. You know, in fact, in chapter 3 of the book, Bo Lee Cooper is on an airplane when the election results are announced. And he tells his wife when he lands, he said, there was a white gentleman seated next to me on the plane, and he said, well, buddy, I guess you're gonna have to find a new career because now that we elected the first black president, there won't be a need for civil rights and civil rights lawyers. And they really believed that, y'all. And so, April, what I was very intentional about was having this allegory of people answering this question and seeing our reality. And the fact that on the very night that President Obama was elected, where we had so much hope in our community, so much optimism, so much joy, but there was about half of the rest of America that was not happy, that did not have the same hope and optimism that we shared in that moment, and that there was going to be a reaction. And so I wanted to show on that very night the pushback, and all throughout the book, you know, even though we don't get too preachy, as he going through the trial and everything, because Hollis Montrose survives the shooting, and then the system does what the system do. They didn't charge him with 4 attempts of murder, even though they shot and paralyzed him. And so he's not only fighting for his life, he's also fighting for his liberty. And in that whole regard, we got a black president of America. It's something new that we've never experienced. And all through the trial, the depositions and everything, you know, it's this undercurrent of how's this going to play out now that we got a black man as the president. And the truth of the matter is, I wanted to make sure we kept talking about this pushback, because if we're being honest, the things that we're dealing with today in 2026 is still from the pushback of us electing the first black president in America. Oh.
And then...
Well, let me finish this, because, like I said, you follow your heart. And I didn't take it out, obviously. And so, you know, when you write a book, most writers, if you want a big-time book, you pray that the New York Times will give you a book review. And so, you know, obviously they ain't gonna give everybody a book review, so you pray about it, and you try to lobby for it. So then the publishing company said, Attorney Crump, the New York Times has agreed to review your novel. And then you say, oh, Lord, because, you know, the New York Times is the world's largest newspaper. 12 million people read it daily. And if they give you a bad book review, your book is dead even before it comes out. But the New York Times review, and I guess it was a white lady by the way she wrote it, she said these things. And first of all, she said, and she seemed to be very honest, she said, when I first started to read civil rights attorney Ben Crump's debut novel, I must admit I had a bit of skepticism. She said, but as I read it, I was pleasantly surprised. It was a page turner, and it was a good legal thriller for a debut novelist. So that's what she said, number one. Number two, which really made me proud, she said it's a good legal thriller that's wrapped in black culture. I really like that, because I was very intentional about having them see our world. We always have to see their world. And then the third thing she said, April, wrapped in black culture, that made me think of things that I never thought about from my perspective. That's why I knew she was a white woman. And then the third thing she said, and it was an important historical footnote for American society as to what was going on in 2008. And that's why you always follow your heart.
One, two, there it is back.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You talk about that because the racial part that is in there too, and we can't, the really big thing that kind of turned it, and in the very first pages, not only was he innocent, but they planted a gun in his hand.
Yeah, it was a conspiracy from go, and you know, when we talk about the title, maybe it's a good time to talk about that. I got the title because when I was a little boy, you know, I was raised partially by my grandmother. My mother worked 2 jobs to take care of me and my 2 little brothers. And so my mother was just wise, like most black grandmothers. I mean, just brilliant. Yeah, any of y'all got grandmothers who just brilliant? My grandmother only had a 3rd grade education, but she's still to this day the wisest person I've ever met on the face of this earth. And I met a lot of smart people, but it's that common sense wisdom. You know, my grandmother, I'll tell you this funny thing. I remember we little children, and it was thundering and lightning and raining real bad. And we said to my grandmother, oh, grandmother, you see how bad it is, thunder and lightning? Man, it's bad weather. We can't go to school today. And my grandmother, without missing a beat, she said, there is no such thing as bad weather. There are only people who did not properly prepare for the weather that day. I said, man, we can't get nothing over on this old lady. But that was my grandmother. And so with the title, I had heard my grandmother say, what's worse than a lie? That is to tell the truth and have nobody believe you. And when you talk about what's worse than a lie in the novel, I mean, Hollis is telling the truth, and the racist criminal justice system, nobody will believe him. And it begs the question, April, that in every city, in every state, in every courtroom, all across America, every day, you have sisters and brothers going in courtrooms being forced to lie on themselves and enter into trumped up plea agreements. And I do mean trumped up. I mean, they forced to lie on themselves because they understand the alternative of them rolling the dice and going to trial with anything but a jury of their peers is likely for them to be convicted of a crime they didn't even commit and spend decades in prison for a crime they didn't commit. And that's worse than a lie. It happens so often, y'all. I don't know if Christopher Franklin is here with us today. Chris, stand up for a second. Talking about using your platform. Oh, I don't know if he's here, but he's a general manager of the television station. There's a brother who they're about to execute. They got all the evidence in the world that he's innocent. And that's here in Memphis. But, y'all, it happens in every city. I mean, brothers are telling the truth and sisters are telling the truth, and nobody believes them. And so that's why I wrote this novel, because I wanted people to see, and you got Bo Lee Cooper, and you got his ragtag team of social justice warriors, and they're in there fighting. And you get to see how judges, not Judge Hennon or not Judge Doyce, but you get to see how judges be treating black lawyers, even though they're the most gifted, the most skilled, the most resourceful, the most intelligent lawyers. I mean, everybody keeps trying to conspire to criminalize black people, black culture, black children, black communities, and we see it over and over. But the beautiful thing is, what I love is the fact that all the characters, whether it's Bo Lee Cooper or his co-counsel, Attorney Princess Alvarez, a Puerto Rican sister, because black women always make brothers look better than we do. And they are in court fighting the prosecutors, the police union, the judge, and everybody, and they won't stop. And that's what we have to see in our heroes. It won't be a fair fight, but we don't stop. And that is the key.
And you talk about that because you said you want young people to get something out of this as well. Is that the lesson, just setting the stage for what to expect, especially those coming in the legal field? Absolutely,
April. Roma, the first words of the book, and I know Roma is a law student, in the dedication, they say, dedicated to my family and my friends and those who endeavor to seek truth and justice. It is not for the faint of heart. Once you decide you're going to go fight for black people to get equality and justice, they're going to come for you. You're going to have some trials and tribulations. They're going to call you everything but a child of God. I mean, but what I want young people to know, that the most important thing is to have courage. I have a fraternity brother named Billy Murphy, 85 years young, great civil rights lawyer. He says, Attorney Crump, you know, man, when I see you on TV, I get so proud. I mean, because I know no matter what the case is, you're going to speak truth to power. He said, I don't care what that's going on, you're going to speak truth to power. And he said, you see, Attorney Crump, we got enough educated Negroes in America today. He said, we got enough articulate Negroes in America today. But he said, what we seem to lack is Negroes who got courage to speak truth to power. I mean, when they get a seat at the table, when they get inside the room, they can give a voice to those who would never have a voice in those rooms. And then they get what Reverend Al said, laryngitis. They won't speak up at all for us. Even though people sacrifice so much for them to get these fancy degrees and these fancy titles. And, I mean, you got a seat at the table. You can help us. And you don't say nothing. You play it safe. Then what was the sacrifice for? Right, Miss Vivian? What did we sacrifice for? And so that's what I want young people to take from it. Reverend Jesse Jackson was a great civil rights leader. Him and Reverend Al and the NAACP and us, we fought many cases in my 26-year career all across America. And when he died and transitioned, a lot of people were asking me, what is your best memory of Jesse Jackson? And I got several, but it's this one thing that really epitomizes not only Jesse Jackson, but where we're at in America today. I was representing black insurance agents in a class action equal pay case. And, you know, my office only bring me out to the big things because, you know, it's so much injustice for black people in America. Everybody does a lot of the heavy lifting. I come and, you know, I'll do the press conferences. I come to the major hearings and then to the trials when it's time to argue the trials. And so I'm here and we got a major hearing going on. I can't tell y'all who the insurance company is, but all of y'all got car insurance with them. And you literally had black insurance agents who have been working 20, 30 years who had white agents, 20 years their junior, getting paid just as much as them. And in some regards, Aisha, they were getting paid twice as much. Young white agents getting paid twice as much as black agents who have been there their whole lives. And so we're fighting this equal pay case, and I believe in fighting in the court of public opinion, in the court of law. So I say to Reverend Jackson, since we're in Chicago in federal court, I say, can we have a press conference at your Operation Rainbow Push? And this is about 6 or 7 years ago. He still can ambulate and walk, but it's clear that the Parkinson's is having an effect on him. You know, he shakes and when he speaks and so forth. And so he agrees, and we do the press conference, April, and it goes very well. And I always wanted to keep my feet on the gas. I knew a lot of the press was coming to the hearing with the black insurance agents. And I said, Reverend Jackson, do you think you can come to court with us? Because, you know, your presence there would mean a lot as we're fighting this case. And he said, okay, Ben, I'll come with you. And he sat on the second row and so forth. And we went in court and we were fighting, we were arguing the case. And this federal judge, man, he talked down to us with disdain. I mean, every time I would say something, he would like cut me off. He would fold his arms on me. And I mean, when the other people talk, he like say like it's the most brilliant thing in the world. I mean, it was like April, we were talking about equal pay. He was like, I don't even know why you black people think y'all can come in our courtroom. That's the kind of response he was giving us. And so we had been arguing for about 2 or 3 hours, and it was pretty clear that things were not going good for us, probably not going to turn out good for us. So we had a little defeatist mentality start to set in, and we went on break. And Reverend Jackson pulled me in a corner, and he said, Attorney Crump, you must never forget that you don't drown because the water is deep. You drown because you stop kicking. He said, Attorney Crump, our people can never see you stop kicking. He said, our people can never see the people that inspire them stop kicking. He said, Attorney Crump, our people can never see their leaders stop kicking. He said, I don't care how the cards are stacked against you, you keep kicking. He said, I don't care how the odds are against you, you keep kicking. He said, I don't care what the circumstances are, you keep kicking. He said, don't you ever stop kicking. I promise you, as long as you keep kicking, you will make it to the other shore. He said, as long as you keep kicking, you will make it to safety. He said, as long as you keep kicking, I promise you, we will overcome. But whatever you do, don't you ever stop kicking. Yeah, it was deep. And he was shaking and everything, and I was sitting there, and it was like a surreal moment, April. I was saying, wow, I'm getting a pep talk from Reverend Jesse Jackson. But it was effective because it renewed my vigor. And we went back in court, Judge Henry, and we started to fight for another 30, 45 minutes. You're a federal judge. You know federal judges next to God in their courtroom. They can say and do anything, and it could be daunting. But after Jesse Jackson had talked to me, it didn't matter. I went and I started fighting like, I'm in church, I can't say how I started fighting. And we started fighting, and as fate would have it, even though he kept talking down to us, he denied their motion to dismiss. So the black insurance agents could continue to go forward with their equal pay case. And and we was able to get a huge, significant confidential settlement. That's why I can't say the name of the insurance company. I think some of y'all done figured it out, good neighbors, but that's another thing. But with that being said, that's the legacy of Jesse Jackson. And more importantly, y'all, that is a lesson for us today. No matter what's going on at the White House, in the Supreme Court, in the Tennessee State House, y'all, as long as we keep kicking, we gonna be all right.
There you go.
And that's what Bo and them, they keep kicking.
And they kept kicking.
And you know, they kept coming at them with everything.
Right, and even initially when you introduced Bo, just setting the stage for him, he's in court and he's fighting big companies about somebody who was injured. And everybody was kind of dismissing what he said. You'll never get that much money, millions of dollars. You'll never get that much money, but he kept kicking.
Exactly, it was a banking while black discrimination case.
Yeah.
And even his staff was like, hey man, you don't understand, you're gonna lose, Bo, we need to go. But if I tell young trial lawyers all the time, if you don't believe, you can't convince nobody else to believe. So, you know, you got to believe in your case. And so that's what we do, April. It's so deep because in the book, it's so realistic. The fact when they won't give Hollis bail and all these things, and you're building this legal thriller because so oftentimes our people think we're in no-win situations. And so, you know, we build it all the way to the end of the book, and you have like A Few Good Men, you have that drop the mic moment. You say, oh man, the black people figured it out. We win today. And we ain't need Tom Cruise to win it for us. We had black people who look like us who won the case.
Yeah, and you know, it says a lot when people are already talking about the book. And we already have award-winning Hollywood producer Will Packer. He said, Worse Than a Lie is a legal thriller in the tradition of A Few Good Men, the Rainmaker, the Lincoln Lawyer, but with a kind of flavor that audiences will love. So when you think about that, do you see this possibly becoming a movie? I know you said we didn't know about the television.
Well, yeah, he did that when he wrote, you know, the blurb before the book came out. But thanks to you all, we got a bidding war for the television rights, and seemed like Angela Bassett and the producers of a TV show called 911 and the producers of a television show called Will Trent, they're going to get together and they're going to turn it into a TV franchise, and they're already putting pressure on me right now to get book number 2 out, because they're like, hey man, and this come in 2028, we need to know what's the next season.
What's the next one?
And so, you know, it's glory to God, because I think the characters are so very diverse. I was very intentional, like I told you about Princess Alvarez. Then he has 2 investigators on his team, Capes and Harpo, his investigators, and they are black men who, and this was so intentional, the black men who, you know, they played the cards that life had dealt them, and both of them as young brothers got convicted for drug dealing. And so they were convicted felons, but Attorney Boley Cooper says, no, I'm not going to give up on my people just because a racist criminal justice system tries to define them as they have no redeemable qualities. And I thought, April, about Malcolm X when he said in his autobiography, some of the most brilliant minds in America are sitting in 5x7 prison cells. I mean, we got sisters and brothers who are just brilliant. And remember, Malcolm said, I wonder what would have happened if those minds would have been exposed to society. So what I tried to do in the book, I tried to show that Capes and Harpo, in a very entertaining fashion, if given the opportunity, they're just as smart, just as resourceful, just as articulate, just as skillful as White Perry Mason and White Ben Matlock and the Lincoln Lawyer. All they needed was a chance. And if we give our sisters and brothers a chance, they will amaze you what they can do. So if you all are like me and you went to school, high school, with people who the justice system has labeled convicted felons, or if you have some church members who you grew up with, or if you like me and you have family members who are convicted felons, I hope y'all do, Lisa, like I try to do when I run into anybody who's been given that scarlet letter. I say, hey, I want you to know that you still can be a constructive citizen in society. You still have redeeming qualities. I just want you to know that you still one of the best things that your mama and daddy made for you. I want you to know that God still hasn't given up on you yet, that God still has a plan for you, that you still are going to be special to this world. And I always tell them that as many times as I can, because I refuse to let a racist criminal justice system define an entire generation of our young black and brown children. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. Man, it's deep, y'all. 1 out of every 5 black men in America, places like the state of Tennessee and Texas and Florida, 1 out of every 5 black men right now is defined as a convicted felon. And they say if this trend continues, April, in the next 20 to 25 years, 1 out of every 3 black men in America will be a convicted felon and live a permanent life as a second-class citizen by American standards. And so I want y'all to do me a favor for just a minute. I want you all to think about if you have a black son and if you have a black nephew and if you have a black male cousin. And I want you to imagine that they're all about 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, little boys. And I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that they're doing like most little children do, and they're just playing. And I want you to, for a moment, just watch those 3 little black boys playing, and you observe them in your mind. And you try to figure out which one of those 3 little black boys with your blood running through their veins in the next 10 to 20 years will become a convicted felon and have to live a permanent life as a second-class citizen. Because the statistics aren't lying, and I know some of us might be arrogant enough to say, oh, well, that won't happen to me and my family. If Trayvon stood for anything, it meant that I don't care what neighborhood you in, what zip code you got, how much your paycheck is, they are targeting our children, especially our young black children. So I hope you all will join me in refusing to let them define who our children are. I don't care. I got to stop myself because I'm in church. I don't give a care about what racist prosecutors and judges have to say about our children, because they children do just as bad, if not worse than our children, but they're always given a slap on the wrist, and our children are always given the maximum. And so that's what this book is about. It goes into that, and I think that's why people relate to it, because not only are we doing a legal thriller, we're really trying to introduce them to black culture.
Black culture. Yeah, and it says something else, because I think Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett said, every once in a while a book like To Kill a Mockingbird is written, and it inspires a generation of civil rights lawyers. And she said, worse than a lie is that book for this generation.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
No, it's humbling, because that's what we were trying to do, is people read the book. And you know, one of the best compliments I had, we were in Washington, D.C., I believe, at a book signing, and it's been great. People been coming out, and people have read the book. And this black lady came up to me, and this was better than any review I could ever get. She said, Attorney Crump, I want to thank you in letting us see black joy on every level. She said, despite the trials and tribulations, there was always joy in every page of the book. That made me feel good. The struggle, because like Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there can be no progress. He said, you can't get despair or get upset because of the struggle. And I know we're struggling in Tennessee right now. We're struggling all over America. But Frederick Douglass said, as long as we don't wave the white flag, as long as we don't surrender, as long as we keep getting up every day and we run to the front line to fight for our children's future, he said that gives our children a better chance at a better future. And he said our children are worth the fight. And so I say to you all, y'all, that there has to be a celebration that we got up yet again. Even though they had all the power, they had the Supreme Court, they had the U.S. Congress, they got the White House and everything, and they keep trying to press us over and over again, April, and every day we keep getting up and scratch their head and they say, I can't believe they got up again. I can't believe they're ready to fight again. That's what it's about, sisters and brothers. We got to find joy in knowing that our children are worth the fight, and we got to go happily run to the front line and fight for them. Because our grandmothers and grandfathers, they ran to the front line to fight for us.
Thank you so much. And we want to be cognizant of your time because we know you have a plane to catch. But you talked about what's coming next as far as already a second book deal. We're going to see this be made into a series. So can we expect to see Bo Lee Cooper's name again in future projects?
Yeah, it's written to be a franchise, just like, the Lincoln Lawyer. I think he has about 11 or 12 books. Glory to God, because you go and you do what you believe in, and you just, you're like, I'm unapologetic. Everybody who know me, April, when y'all interview me now, I know some of y'all producers be tossing and turning and everything, because I'm going to be who I am. I'm an unapologetic defender of black life, black liberty, and black culture. And when you call on me, I ain't changing, and so forth. And so I did this book, and I really didn't care so much about what white America would think. I was writing this for our people. And the fact that within 6 months, they're buying the TV rights. I'm rep by UTA agency in Hollywood, and they was like, this is really remarkable, Attorney Crump. Normally, they don't buy TV rights like the Lincoln Lawyer. The movie, they made it into a movie like 7 years after he wrote his first book, and then 13 years it becomes a TV series, but they like, hey man, in 6 months, this is happening. And I say, first, glory to God, but then it's a desire for it. Black people and brown people, we don't want to keep seeing these white savior hero movies. So at some point, we want to see about us. And so I think that's what's going on. And so we keep doing it. Y'all, and it shows the whole family. It shows Bo Lee's wife and his mama and all those things. It really is one of those things that it's a celebration of our black culture. After you have, these great legal thrillers that keep you saying, well, how are they going to figure it out? How's it going to happen? And that's what this book is. A legal thriller, but it really is a celebration of us.
Thank you so much. And before we get your final remarks, we do have a question from the audience.
Okay.
And this is for you about what is the hardest thing that you have experienced in your line of work?
Man, the hardest thing always, and I know Ms. Ravon is here and Mr. Rodney, hardest thing, I keep thinking, man, what would have come of Tyree had he not been profiled and assassinated? What would have come of Trayvon Martin had he been able to live out his life? Of Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland. That's the hard part of it, knowing that, man, we got to do more. Thurgood Marshall, and I've been often asked the question, April, how do you deal with it all? How do you keep doing it? And you have to compartmentalize your mind to say, I got to keep my eyes on the prize, to keep fighting on just many fights. Because if you don't, it leads to more hashtags. In Thurgood Marshall Day, he talked about if he didn't keep his eyes on the prize, it left them more lynchings where black men were hanging from trees, castrated, with their eyes bulged out. And so it's those things. Just yesterday, I was on, Friday, I was on the cover of the New York Times. You talk about just heartbreaking. We brought a lawsuit on behalf of black babies, of the families of two. I see some people nodding their heads. Y'all must have read the article. And I'm sure this is going to become a documentary or a movie and stuff because it's warranted. In 1966 and 1967, the National Institute of Health and a young lawyer named Charles Pfizer and his company, they experimented with only little black babies, as young as 2 months old, on this RSV vaccination, and they just used our babies as lab rats and guinea pigs. It's heartbreaking. And April, man, you have to be able to deal with it because the families, it's the worst day of their life, and you're trying to help them make sense out of something that makes no sense at all. Your child been taken from this earth so unfairly and so unjustly. And those innocent little black babies, they took all the poor black babies in 1966 and 1967 in Washington, D.C., and if they had like asthma or respiratory problems, they thought they were getting them to get special help. No, they was experimenting with these babies. And 2 of them died, baby Otto Ross Hambrick and baby Victor King. And you talking about evil. They did an autopsy, Miss Rovine, and the autopsy wasn't to know how we can prevent the other black babies from dying. They did the autopsy to harvest the tissues of those black babies so they can continue with the experiments in the name of science at the expense of our black babies, as they had no humanity. And they kept studying the tissues for decades, and then AI came along, and AI found the glitches from the baby's tissues. And y'all been seeing all on commercials about RSV. Now they have this miracle vaccine. Well, in 2023, that was because they killed these babies in 1966 and 1967, and we would have not known at all about it, except one of the head scientists working for the NIH was on his deathbed. And this is just sad because he did it for selfish reasons, I think. He wanted to try to save his soul. So Judge Doris had to say, well, I got to tell the truth. I got to confess to what we did to these innocent black babies. And he told his son and told his stepdaughter. And they then told it to this journalist. And that's the only way we know, April. And I'm so thankful to journalists with compassion and so forth, Christopher, who used their voice, because we wouldn't have known that these children, their families thought they died of pneumonia. All their lives blaming themselves, like, man, maybe we shouldn't have took them out in the cold. Maybe we should have. What could we have done to save our little infant babies? When the truth of the matter, they were using the infant black babies as guinea pigs. And so these pharmaceutical companies are making billions and billions of dollars now from RSV. And that's the hard part of the job, remembering what they did. But 60 years later, gonna hold the United States government and Pfizer responsible for targeting our babies, because if we don't, who's to say they won't try it again?
Well, Attorney Crump, I tell you, you have a lot on your plate, and thank you for being a voice in our community and standing up on these issues that are so important. Thank you.
Now, thank you, April. And thank y'all for reading the book. Bo Lee Cooper is waiting to meet you all.
Before we wrap up, we do have one presentation we want to make. We're having the president of Beta Epsilon Omega now, Ms. Pamela C.
Thank you to the AKAs for sponsoring this book conversation. Thank you to the amazing April, who always gives us a voice in our community.
So I would also like Pastor Norman to come to the stage, please.
I think he had to run out.
He had to run out? Okay. Yes, so then that leaves you. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this wonderful event. On behalf of Beta Epsilon Omega, will the members please stand?
And thank you, Pamela.
We have enjoyed, you have inspired us. And with that, I'm going to ask Coach McCray, Coach Shirley McCray, is giving you a copy of her book. Coach Shirley McCray is the first female football coach in the United States of America.
Oh, wow. You're a history maker.
Yes.
Incredible.
And
We're going to have to take a picture of our books together. Okay, I'll make sure we get down.
And then on behalf of Beta Epsilon Omega, this is just a little something for you. Because we wanted you to leave, you know, in Tennessee, we are Southern hospitality. We wanted you to leave with something in your hand, but you are receiving something extra nice that wasn't going to be ready by today. So you'll get it in the mail.
Thank you so much, Pamela.
I also want to ask our sister AKA chapters to please stand because they're in the audience, and we want to thank everyone for coming out. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Pat. And it's wrapped in purple, so I'm grateful. I would say one last thing. I think they want to take pictures.
Coach McRae, I'm going to give the microphone to you.
Okay. Hey, I think they want a picture of you right now. And y'all have a preview because I've been invited to the Boulé to have participate in a Q&A.
That's right. We're going to see you in July, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I will say this. Do everybody have their books? Okay, I'm going to ask a favor. If you all been watching on social media, I've been to, Kareem, is this the 57th city we've been to on this book tour? We make these videos of the book signing, and we then put it on social media, and 3 million people we don't know all comment and say how good it looks. So what we're going to do, Kareem, I don't have a book, but
my book is down there.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is going to go really fast, y'all. We're going to, I'm going to come and Kareem and them going to video. Everybody going to have their book. I got it. I'm going to come down. It's a table there. It's a table. Okay. I'll come down. You hold this. Hey, Pastor Norman, my frat brother, we good. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply do this. Everybody is going to have their book in their hand, and we're going to stand up, and we're going to hold the books up, and we want everybody to kind of come and fill up just these two. Stay where you at. Stay where you at. Everybody stand in their seat in front of them. But if you're not in one of these two sections here, kind of come over so we can fill in these two sections. Okay. Now everybody stay where they're at. If you're in this section and you're in this section, stay where you're at. The people on the outside, come over. All right. All right. Yeah. Mr. Photographer. And so, where's Judge Hennon and Rovon and Pamela? Where the leadership? Okay. Come on, Coach. You come and stand with us. Okay. Right here. Yes, ma'am. Right there. Right there. Yes, ma'am. No, you're fine. Can she use your book for a second? she'll give it back. You can use that. Okay. So everybody, it's going to be real simple now. We're going to say three things and three things only. Number one, we're going to say worst in a live book tour. Worst in a live book tour, that's number one. Number two, we're going to say AKA, what's the chapter?
Beta, Epsilon, Omega.
Okay, y'all got that? AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter. All right, y'all got that? Yeah. All the AKAs know what I'm talking about for the non-AKA. It's going to be AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter. Beta Epsilon Omega chapter. Okay, that's the second thing. And then the third thing is going to be Memphis, Tennessee. And then we're going to say, yay! And we're going to hold the books in the air when we say these three things. Number one, worst in the live book tour, AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter, Memphis, Tennessee. Yay! Okay, so you use the mic if they can't hear you. People in the back row come up. Okay.
Nice afro, cute glasses. Yeah, come on up.
All right. So
Those back rows come up a little bit so we can get a.
So
we only have a little bit on our phones, so we need to get it tight. Thank you.
Okay.
And y'all gonna need to be real loud.
Real.
I was a cheerleader. We're trying to beat Detroit. We're trying to beat Chicago, and we certainly want to beat Washington D.C.
Thank you, co-counsel. So everybody, when we did this at UCLA, we had the actress Megan Good do the Q&A with me, and she said this important thing. She said every actress and actor knows when you're on the set, you keep going until the director says cut. So when we making noise and yay and everything, you keep going until they hold up their fist, the cut. All right, y'all got it? All right, y'all know what we're going to say? All right, worst in the live book tour, AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm so glad I said that because I forgot. AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter, Memphis, Tennessee. All right. Worst in a live book tour. Y'all didn't say AK. All right. Y'all got to put AKA before Beta Epsilon Omega chapter. Okay. All right, they're ready. Worst in a live book tour, AKA Beta Epsilon Omega chapter, Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah! 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 Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so where are we doing this book signing and taking the pictures at, y'all? In the foyer. Okay, so y'all, if you're going to take pictures with your cell phone, have it opened up and hand it to the person as you come down the line.
Let's hear it for Attorney Ben Crump. If you have your books, you can head to the lobby. I gave it back to you. Cynthia.
The book Shirley's book.
It's up on the stage. I don't see it. It's up on the stage. I don't see it. It's up on the. I put it on the stage. You want to get the book? I want her to take the book. Okay.